Okay, we're back with another question. Here's one that came in today, and I think it's a great question. And sadly, I can tell you before we even read it, probably not going to be able to answer it well, but hopefully we can give some practical principles.
Pretty low bar.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Here's the question: what's an appropriate expectation of intimacy in marriage, considering a busy life? Kids, jobs, sports, everything. And so the appropriate level, and I would assume that right at the beginning, we're not going to give a number, but I think it's a legitimate issue. So what are your thoughts on an appropriate level of expectation? How do you determine that level within any given relationship?
Yeah, I think if my wife's watching, she's probably anxious to hear this answer.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I see that in marriages that are going really well, where that's an issue, and marriages that are really struggling, where it's an issue. I think if
so, it's not just a hurting marriage issue; it's a lot of. Okay.
No, I think, just with how busy we are in our lives, it's not uncommon, like at my house, for me to be gone all day. My wife and I, we both leave at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. I'll get home sometimes 7, 8, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. We're getting the kids ready we don't have to get our kids ready for bed now, they're older, but just preparing to go to bed, washing clothes, doing homework, all this stuff, checking up. And we're getting ready to go to bed. We hadn't even talked.
Yeah.
So you have to have that connection, and especially women have to have that connection, to where you sit down and talk. And so I see that in a lot of relationships, where, and then couples will wonder that. I think if there are a lot of problems going on and the frequency's high, that might be an issue.
Right.
Because you're not really connecting the way you should. Okay. So I don't know if there's any average number or anything like that, but just for couples to know that, you have to be intentional about making time for each other, or all of a sudden it's not uncommon, even when marriages are going well, for it's like, wow, we haven't even gone out, we haven't connected, we haven't done anything together, and it's been a month. So I think you have to intentionally break that. I did a thing here at the church a few years ago on routine breakers and for couples. And one of the things that we talked about, that everybody was bringing up, is that other things seems like more important than our relationship. And when other things get in front of it, number 1's our relationship with God, 2 with our spouse, 3 with kids, 4 with work, 5th with other. And when those other things get in front of them, we have a problem. And I think that interferes with intimacy.
Right. Yeah, and I think just without going down the path of a number, because when someone asks a question like this, you acknowledge that there's probably some sort of tension in the relationship over it. One wants more, one wants less, or whatever. They're just exhausted when they hit the bed at night. And so what's the appropriate expectation of intimacy in marriage? I guess I would almost go back to something I referenced in the service today, was Dr. Harley's book on His Needs, Her Needs, where he went to these basic needs of men, basic needs of women. And when it comes to intimacy, I believe the two were, one was a physical intimacy and another one was an emotional intimacy. And men have a tendency to move towards the physical intimacy, and ladies have a tendency to move towards the emotional intimacy, and they're both needed. And so I would say, without giving a number here, I would say if it's a tension in the house, if it's a tension between the husband and wife on too much or too little, then it needs to be changed. If it seems to be a pattern and a rhythm and very little is involved, but there's a great pattern and a great rhythm and the intimacy is there, then little might be perfect for your relationship. On the other end of this spectrum, if things are growing great in your marriage and it's a lot, don't change it. But I do believe, what is the old statement of a good definition of insanity is to keep doing things the same way over and over again and expecting different results. So if you're asking the question, or if you're in this situation, what's the right level? And things are great in your relationship, that's the right level. If one is really frustrated and is causing anger in the morning, then we need to change that level. So I would say, if the question's being asked, what's the right number? And you're experiencing great frustration, I would just say it's a different number than it is now.
Right.
Is that fair, or did I mess that up?
No, I think that's great. And also talking about that, you know, because a lot of times what will happen is one will be frustrated and they don't talk about it directly. They'll be passive aggressive and hurt the person in other ways, you know, withdraw affection, or I'm not going to talk to you, or I'm not going to do this because you're not doing that. So you don't want to get into that. So I think the main thing is that you talk about it sometimes. And I think, too, just sometimes talk about, I do this with my wife. It's like, wow, I wish we could go do this or go do that. But, you know, we can't. But remember when we used to do that and that was so much fun? I think just letting each other know sometimes I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about intimacy. I'm thinking about times we used to do this or that. But we're so busy or we're so tired or whatever, we can't do it. But I think that just lets them know that it's on your mind.
It's on your mind. Okay, so hopefully that helps. If things are cruising in your marriage, that's the right number. If you're struggling in that area, just make a change and see how it goes.